pack of cigarettes.
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Old School with DP and J.
So I knew that it was a crapshoot with the grown-up professionals at the highest level. Who's going to bet? I don't know whether the starting center's girlfriend broke up with him, whether his parents have groceries that week. I don't know whether his roommate and him had a fight. So why would I want to bet on that?
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. On the block with Strick and Austin.
I think about all the infrastructure that got built up behind the scenes by Coach Osborne, that Coach Solich took over, and then some of that infrastructure was eroded. Matt Rule still has to prove this, but I think Matt Rule's style is that, yeah, he'd like the infrastructure in place, but I think Matt Rule has the personality to do everything in his power to bend it to the way he wants it.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels and Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels and Joe. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome into the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. I'm Ben Droz, one of the sports writers at the Daily Nebraskan, and I'm joined here, like every Monday, by Anthony, Rubik, and Marissa Cross. Anthony, Marissa, how you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, doing well. A little bit tired, but that's okay. How about you?
Well, that's like every Monday night here because we go from 11 to 12 at night. But you know what?
True.
It's great. It's awesome. We wouldn't want any other time.
Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah, wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
It's a great way to end your day.
Maybe an hour earlier. But, you know, everything's good. Love the time. Oh, man, happy to be here. So today, we want to first touch on the biggest news that came today for Nebraska, which was Jamarcus Lawrence has entered the transfer portal. Now, bless you. Now, first of all, when I first heard the news, this was very surprising to me because Jamarcus Lawrence was a younger player who's been here his whole college career, pretty much, and he played a significant role. He started beginning of the year. When Juwan Gary came back from his injury, he got pushed to the bench, but he was still like the sixth man. He took over CJ Wilcher's role then, which wasn't surprising. Wilcher left because his role kind of diminished when Lawrence left. But now Lawrence isn't even here. Can you guys just give your first reaction to the news?
Yeah, it was very surprising to me. When you're looking at the other players who have transferred so far for Nebraska, you kind of understood at least where they were coming from on it. But then Jamarcus Lawrence doing it today, that really, really shocked me. Just because, you know, you mentioned it was a guy who started the year as a starter. Then, you know, didn't have his best start of the year, moved over to the bench, really thrived in that role. But I think he was going to be back in that starting lineup next season. And, you know, this was a guy who played with or spent his first 2 years at Nebraska. Same thing kind of happened as a freshman, you know, slow start to the year, wasn't getting much playing time, ended the year very strong. Same thing sophomore year. So I was really thinking that, you know, this offseason, he'd really kind of piece everything together and really just transform into this solid, capable starter. So, yeah, it was very surprising.
Yeah, it was I mean, yeah, just echoing what Anthony said, it was surprising of all the people that have transferred so far. I believe he's the fifth that has entered their name to transfer portal. So his was definitely the most surprising. I mean, kind of like what you said. I think he was kind of like building up into like that starting role. And I think it was this season and the second season he kind of transitioned to like a different position. Is that right?
Different kind of
A
role,
different
yeah.
kind of role on the team. But I mean, I think he was kind of. I mean, I think he did good with like adapting to that, and could have definitely, you know, of course, improved in that position. Um, I I mean, yeah, that's pretty well all I had to say.
Um, Lawrence, yeah, it's just weird because he was gonna have a big role. It's not only like if he would have not had a big role this year and been like, oh well, next year he was going to, that'd maybe make a little bit more sense. But he was already a big part of the team, and he's probably going to be an even bigger part next year. And now he's just gone. Don't know where yet. Just entered the transfer portal, but pretty much not going to be back next year. And it was just shocking to me because he's been here, and he's just like he's going to be a junior. It was like he's finally going to get to be one of the top players on the team, and he decides to leave. Now, I want to touch on how dismantled the team that made the tournament appearance is now. Because, like, if you look down the line, they have 3 returning starters and Bryce Williams, Mast, and Gary. And then the only other player with big time minutes coming back, Sam Hoiberg. Anybody else, really?
Not really.
No.
I mean, that's just like crazy to me. Like, they literally have only 4 players from this last year coming back. I mean, I think there's some other players maybe that were on the team last year that could still be on, but like still only like 4 players that played significant minutes. And Hoiberg really didn't even play that significant of minutes down the stretch. So it's like he's really going to have to attack the transfer portal. I mean, he's going to have to.
Yeah, just looking at the roster, especially at the end of the season, you were thinking about, how much, while yes, Nebraska's going to lose Keisei Tominaga and Josiah Alec, you still thought, they're still returning so many players, then, maybe get 1 or 2 guys in the transfer portal, and then that should be good to run it back. But, with guys like Wilcher and Lawrence gone now, it really leaves it up to Nebraska to really just attack the portal, find their guys. I mean, they have 6 open scholarships now, which is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They can really go off in the portal if they really want to. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I know they've brought in a couple guys on some unofficial visits, William Kyle, Frankie Fiddler. Then Fred Hoiberg said that he will visit 3 to 4 priority transfer targets in the next 24 hours. So, he is very busy right now. There's just a lot of guys. I think they reached out to over 30 potential transfers. So it's going to be very interesting to see, who ends up where.
Yeah, because this, like, it's just so weird to me because Lawrence, this is just so unexpected, in my opinion. Like, I want to know, like, the reasoning. Like,
yeah,
I don't feel like it was for a bigger role because, like, how much, I mean, unless he goes, like, the only way he's going to get a bigger role is if he goes to a worse team. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really feel like he's going to be able to upgrade to a better team and get more minutes. Like, there's not too many of those situations out there. Nebraska was a good spot where he could stay here and keep a pretty big role, maybe even bigger than last year's. And now where he's going to be is just up in the air. Wouldn't surprise me if he goes to a little bit. I mean, like, do you feel like he's more likely to go to kind of a big time program that, has had a lot of success, or maybe go to a program that isn't as good where he can get a bigger role? Where do you forecast him going to?
I
know it's tough.
Yeah, it's hard until we see, what teams reach out to him in like a few days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw one thing, he's from New Jersey, Rutgers. They were saying the same thing for like when CJ Wilcher entered the portal.
Okay, yeah.
And stuff like that, maybe just be closer to home like that. And I feel like Rutgers, well, I guess Rutgers is, they do have one of the best recruiting classes, at least in the Big Ten next year. So I don't know exactly if it would be an upgrade in minutes in that sort. But yeah, Lawrence is really just a guy who I really just don't see him playing at a Power 6 level like the same getting the same minutes, the same kind of treatment as Nebraska. He might
I agree.
still be a starter for some teams. He'll definitely be a valuable bench player for a ton of teams. But just with how he was set up as kind of just they really were raising him as this primary ball handler over the past summer, over the past season, and yet now with him leaving, that really just they really need to get another guy, another true point guard on the team, as it's really just Bryce Williams right now and Aaron Eulis if he's eligible.
Yeah, I mean, unless Hoiberg gets a way bigger role. That's the one thing that does excite me is this could open up the door for Hoiberg getting a pretty decent role next year. And I would love to see it because I really like Hoiberg's game. Love what he does on defense. And I feel like there's potential there for him to really grow in the offensive end if he gets the chance. Do you feel like Hoiberg, I mean, he's not going to take, well, do you feel like he could maybe take some of that Lawrence role? Like maybe he could be like that sixth man off the bench? Or do you feel like that's not really it for him right now?
I think he possibly can. I would say, though, I like Sam Hoiberg too. He's a great energy guy. He makes game-winning plays throughout the game. He will win you some games. But I think just if you want to feel confident about this Nebraska team, if you want to see a Nebraska team that makes it back to the NCAA tournament next year, I think you need to get something better than having Hoiberg as a sixth man or a starter. I think how he was this past year as kind of like that eighth man in the rotation, behind Lawrence, behind Wilcher. I think that was really good, and it really benefited sometimes. He was getting around 19 minutes a game. I think that's really a perfect amount for him. Put in perspective, Lawrence was getting around 24 minutes a game last year. So, maybe a minute or two increase, but yeah, I like Hoiberg. I think that, he's getting better and better every year, but I think that you need to get someone just a little better.
I agree. And I feel like Hoiberg he has a pretty good history of attacking the portal here in Nebraska. So we'll have to see what he can all do. But I mean, a lot of the big contributors from last year were portal guys. CJ Wilcher was a portal guy. Mass was a portal guy. Same with Alec. Like a lot of these guys that played big time roles here came through the portal. So it doesn't, like, I'm not that worried about the future of this team, but it's definitely up in the air. It wouldn't be surprising to me if he can't if he can't find much in the portal, that this team kind of goes back to being a little mediocre in the Big Ten. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and that's really just the risk that, getting a whole different roster every year kind of brings you. I mean, this has been every year Hoiberg's in Lincoln. He always just goes heavy on the transfer portal. And at the beginning of it, it was a lot of misses. It was just a lot of guys who didn't pan out. But then as of late, a couple years back, you get guys like Sam Griesel, Emmanuel Bandamel, Derek Walker was a transfer portal guy. Then this past year, you get Bryce Williams, Rank Mass, Josiah Alec.
Yeah, I didn't even say Bryce Williams.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, that's just really the way college basketball is now. And it really just shows in this team. I think right now, the only scholarship player that has had their whole career be at Nebraska is Matar Diop. And he's just finished his freshman year. So
yeah,
it's just very interesting to see the landscape of college basketball change. But I mean, looking at it just in that lens, Fred Hoiberg's really just kind of been ahead of the curve in a way. And that is just how he's been attacking the portal for this whole time, for this long. So yeah, they will definitely need some guys, pick up the load that Lawrence, Wilcher, Casey, Alec are leaving. But going off his track record, he has more hits than misses.
Yeah, and this is another reason why I'm not too worried about it, is because he's been doing this for years at Nebraska. Like, this is it's not like he's having to change his whole philosophy or anything because of this. Like, this is what he's been doing. He's had a lot of turnover from year to year. So it's not surprising that there is a lot of turnover. I think it's a surprise some of the names that have left. Wilcher was a surprise for some. I wasn't as surprised by that. The Jamarcus Lawrence news was very surprising for me. So earlier when we were talking about the portal, we were saying a big man next to Mass is kind of the biggest need. I'm probably going to say guard now. Like, they don't have that much guard play right now. Like, they have Gary and Mast. Those two guys could, if theoretically, Gary could play the 4 right next to Mass at the 5. You'd like to not have Mass at the 5, but you could do it. Bryce Williams and Hoiberg are the only guards on the team. And Hoiberg, like you said, I feel like he's definitely more of like a 7th or 8th guy off the bench. Not like if he's your best bench player, you got a pretty thin bench, in my opinion. So, although I would love to see him in the starting lineup, to be honest, but I think the energy he brings off the bench is what suits him best. I think coming off the bench is in Hoiberg's best interest. So, like, they have a big hole next to Williams at the guard spot, and they have a big hole next to Mass in the post. And, like, what need do you feel like is bigger right now? I mean, I know they're both huge needs, but, like, if you could choose whether they can get a really good player in either of those, which one would you choose?
Definitely guard right now. It's really just it's Williams and Hoiberg on the team. And even Williams, he's really he can play the forward a lot. He's not a true guard. Yes, he's the primary ball handler for Nebraska, but yeah, guard is just a big position of need now with Lawrence entering the portal. And it's just going to be very interesting to see who they talk to. I mentioned on the show last week about Tony Perkins. I don't know how real the chances are of Nebraska getting him, but he would be just a big pickup in my opinion. And I guess, again, just someone that I mentioned earlier, Aaron Eulis, another Iowa guy, be very interesting to see, where he winds up, especially now with Lawrence leaving. If he is eligible to play next year, that would be just huge for Nebraska. He's that true point guard that they didn't have last year, and now that they really desperately need now with how few of guards on the roster. So it'll be very interesting seeing how his situation plays out.
What do you think, Marissa? What do you think is the more pressing need as of right now, guard or a post next to Mast?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough to have a true opinion, but I mean, listening to what Anthony said, yeah, I agree that guard would probably be the greater need.
I would agree to a certain extent. While yes, they need a guard, I trust Williams quite a bit. They need a scoring guard, yes, but like Nebraska, just like if they're gonna win a tournament game, they just got to get better in the post. Like they have to get better in the post, because I feel like if they put all their eggs in a bunch of guard play, it's just gonna be a lot of the same this next year of Nebraska just getting beat on the boards every time. Texas A&M was just better down low. They just were. They were a more athletic team, better rebounding team. Just and then they shot lights out from the 3-point line. Just like overall, they just outplayed Nebraska in every single aspect. If they can get better down low, even if the 3-point shot isn't falling, because I don't know how good, we don't know how good of a 3-point shooting team Nebraska is going to be this next year. A lot of the shooters left. Wilcher, Jamarcus Lawrence, Keisei Tominaga, all of them are gone. Bryce Williams was a decent shooter. Same with Juwan Gary. Mast sometimes. But a lot of the shooters are not on this team anymore. So this might not be as much of a 3-point happy team as they were last year. It's going to be interesting because all their 3-point shooters are gone. They're all gone.
Yeah, Nebraska was historic from deep this past season. And just without Keisei, without Wilcher, without Lawrence, I doubt they'll see that same success next year unless they bring in some guys who are just automatic from deep. So yeah, I guess the good thing about it is that there is 6 scholarships available. So, you can scatter them around. You can get a whole starting 5 basically from the transfer portal, but it's very interesting to see how they play out, how they will use those scholarships. It's going to be interesting to see. Williams, Gary, and Mass are still 3 outstanding players, great starters that proved their worth this year, were great for Nebraska. Honestly, I mean, maybe not Mass, but Williams and Gary were probably the 2 most consistent players on Nebraska, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, it's just a complete roster overhaul. They still have those guys who have the foundation returning. So yeah, it'll just be very interesting to see who they pair with them.
We got a text on the text line. A&M guards killed us, not their bigs. Guard play wins in the tournament. I agree. But at the end of the day, even if we had better guard play, Nebraska did, Nebraska was not beating that A&M team. A&M barely lost to Houston. Nebraska and Houston, 2 different levels. You know what I mean? That A&M team just played out of their minds. that was just a game that felt unwinnable. Right? Like right when we saw how good Texas A&M was playing, it was just like Nebraska could have had their best game of the year. Like they could have had the same performance was when they beat Purdue, and I don't know if they would have won. I mean, honestly. A&M was that good. They were that much better of a team. And I don't really feel like it was from, I mean, yes, it was from a roster standpoint, but like they just played out of their minds. Like that, they were playing like one of the best teams in the tournament. And the only reason they didn't advance any farther is because they played Houston, one of the top teams in the tournament. So I agree, but especially when we went in Big Ten play, the play down low is going to have to get better. Because I feel like a lot of the games Nebraska lost was because of the play down low. Nebraska was kind of an inconsistent team. If you're a better team down low, you can be more consistent than a team that relies on the 3-point line. Again, that's a philosophy thing. But if Hoiberg can still surround this team with good shooters and improve the post play, we'll see Nebraska really thrive as a team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the same. I think in the last half of the season, Nebraska kind of got a little better at, working inside and not heavily relying on threes. Like there was games where the 3-pointers weren't falling, but they were still able to pull out with victories. Granted, those were against like Penn State, Minnesota, those teams. And then in the Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament, you saw when the 3-pointers weren't falling, Nebraska really, really struggled. And they really struggled defensively as well, which I think kind of plays in the role of both guard and forward for this.
I mean, they're both needs.
Yeah, as like the texter mentioned how the Texas A&M guards beat Nebraska. They all three of their starting guards had over 20 points. And a lot of that came from, just great 3-point shooting, but they were also just attacking the basket, and Nebraska really just had no answer whatsoever. And that's what you need in the portal is just guards who can play defense. And if they get past, you need a rim protector, somebody to be down low to help contest those shots better than guys like Mass and Alec were doing.
I agree. And this is why, again, a rim protector. Nebraska doesn't have a rim protector. If they did, it would help the guards a lot. And then again, Nebraska doesn't have that great defensive guards. I think Williams is a pretty decent defender, but like Jamarcus Lawrence and Tominaga, Welcher, they weren't that great of defenders. Like Nebraska was just not a team that was built on defensive guard play. If you know what I mean. Like this was a team that it was like team defense, but A&M just top to bottom was just more athletic and better team. So it's just it was a tough first round draw for Nebraska. I mean, like if Nebraska's going to beat a team like that, they're going to have to get way more athletic. And I don't feel like that's where Nebraska is going to really be able to go. I mean, they could. I mean, Juwan Gary and Bryce Williams, I feel like they're athletic enough to be able to handle guys like that. But then you also had guys like Tominaga who aren't great defenders, just really good 3-point shooters. Love Tominaga. He was a big part of the team, not trying to dog him at all. He was a huge reason why Nebraska got as far as they did. But if you're going to surround your team by guys like that, you're just in comparison not going to be as good of a defensive team. Like, and that's something Hoiberg knows. If he's going to go for a more defensive-oriented team, Nebraska's probably not going to be as good of a 3-point shooting team. They're probably not going to be able to take down teams like Purdue as easily if you can't light it up from the 3-point line, but it would make you a more consistent team. It's all about the philosophy.
Yeah, and you've seen just Hoiberg really change from that throughout just his time at Nebraska and just throughout last season. They really, until those last 2 games of the season, Nebraska was really priding itself on defense. They were posting great outings, holding their opponents to under 60 points. And it really just looked like a complete change from even earlier in the year, only for it to, blow up in their face when they're playing against elite guards like Terrence Shannon, Wade Taylor, those type of players. So, yeah, you just got to find some more consistency on the defensive end. And while that may hinder your 3-point shooting, your offense ability a little bit more, that's really what the Big Ten is. It's just tough basketball. It's going to be some low scoring games, some 60 to 59 wins and stuff like that. So, yeah, just be very interesting to see how he assesses the players leaving in the transfer portal and see who he brings in and if Nebraska will have to change their philosophy for the next year.
I would love to see this team be more defensive oriented because the foundation is guys like Bryce Williams and Juwan Gary. The only thing that confuses me about that is Mast. Does Mast really fit in on a team like that? Like if you just surround this as a defensive team, is Mast a good enough defender? Like because your defense is only as good as your weakest link. Is Mast a good enough defender for this to be a top-notch defensive team if you add in a lot of defensive players? Like, do you view Mast like that? Because I really don't. I feel like he's kind of, I'm not going to say he's a liability on the defensive end, but, especially if they move him to the 4, he'd be a lot slower than teams like A&M who would just have to let it top to bottom.
Yeah. I think Mast, he's just a guy you're going to have to kind of live with that. And
I'm not saying they're going to replace him.
Exactly. And again, he leaves a lot to be desired defensively, but he shows the ability on offense. While inconsistent, yes, but he still had some dominant games throughout this year as Nebraska. And I think this would definitely be a big emphasis on him going in the offseason. Working on his defense and also just finding some more consistency. Inside. I feel like there was games where he was kind of too reliant on the 3-pointer and wasn't quite using, his 6'10", 250 frame. So it's going to be very interesting to see it, but I expect Mast, at least have some more consistency next year. Maybe not having, 34-point games where he hits 6 3-pointers, but I expect, his 12-point average to go up to like 15 or so.
I mean, and that average really came down towards the end of the year because he was not as good towards the end of the year. That's just like he wasn't. But it's going to be interesting to see how Hoiberg builds this team. I don't even say it's going to be a rebuild. It's just going to be like a reload. Like this team, like it's not like, oh man, this is a super young team. They can't really compete. They have good enough pieces. If you add in good transfer players, this team can more than definitely be at the top of the Big Ten again. It's just a matter of will he find the right guys? We'll have to see. But with that, we got to throw it to break. When we come back, we're going to get some March Madness talk in, both men's and women's, because there were some great women's games. Also want to recap the men's action from this past weekend. All that and more is coming right here on the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Alcohol has strained our relationship. Drinking too much can cause harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, we will save our relationship. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
I'd like to have my fun maybe more like on like a Tuesday, like in February or something. Let's see if I can pull a prank on somebody. But not on
it's
prank
like it's
day.
total amateur hour.
Yeah, it's just like National Prank Day. Yeah.
Yeah, I do got a little announcement to make.
What's that? Oh, wait, breaking news?
I won't be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday.
Whoa! What? Can he? This
April Fools.
Oh! He got it. That's actually well done. It's so good.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Tuesday, April 2nd versus the San Diego Mojo at the Viejas Arena in San Diego. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 8 p.m. with first serve at 9. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network.
I see the future in our public school classrooms every day. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. I also see how critically important parent and community support is to our students' success. Support your public schools. Get involved. Form a business school partnership or become a school volunteer. Great schools and great communities work hand in hand.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car and your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh, yeah. This is a game changer. Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better. Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits is now open in Lincoln. Shop our expansive collection of wine, beers, spirits, and cigars at 5040 North 27th Street. From top-shelf liquor to crowd-favorite beer, Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits has a beverage for every taste and every budget. Plus, join our loyalty program to earn rewards and save on future purchases. Shop Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits at 5040 North 27th Street in Lincoln. That's 5040 North 27th Street.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello, welcome back into the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Ben, Anthony, Marissa, still here with you on this awesome Monday night. Day after Easter. I didn't even ask, guys, how was your Easter?
It was nice. Got to go back home. My grandma had a nice brunch with all the family, so it was nice catching up with them.
How about you, Marissa?
Yeah, same. I went back to Missouri this weekend and saw some family, and yeah, we just had like an Easter lunch too, and then I drove back Sunday night. So fun times.
My sister and her husband just moved to Waverly, so my family and I went to their place, and we had like a brunch thing. It was fun. But one thing, just real quick, why does students not get a single day off for Easter? It's ridiculous. Why do we get a whole week off for spring break? Granted, I love spring break, but like not even like the Monday. Like, come on. I feel like we should at least get the Monday off. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, Easter, I get like Easter might be more of a religious holiday, I guess, but so is Christmas. I don't know. I don't get why they don't get even just one day. Like, why can't we get one day?
I feel like a lot of places get Monday off. Like I know in Missouri, like the St. Louis area, a lot of those schools have Monday off. So don't know why we don't.
I mean, especially because there's so many less days off in the spring. Like the fall, there's so many days off that we get in the fall. Spring, it's like spring break and that's it. There's like nothing else.
Yeah.
Literally 5 days a week, every week until spring break. And then after that, it's just not even Easter. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
My freshman year, we didn't even get spring break. We had to go the whole semester without a single break.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was interesting. And then we also, the fall semester, we stopped school at Thanksgiving. Like Thanksgiving was it. And we didn't go back to school or anything. So it was really weird.
That was probably a short fall then.
Yeah.
Man.
But you're right. We do have like fall break and Thanksgiving break now. And
we get Thanksgiving.
We get a bunch of time.
And then like we always get to some random like Monday off. I don't even know like what there's something else there. Like what is there is Labor Day? No, Labor Day's in spring. Is it Martin Luther King Day or something? I don't know. There's also
Something
another
like
day
that.
we get like a Monday or a
random
Friday.
Monday.
Yeah, we get like a random Monday off. And it's just like it's so nice. Just having like that one day off just makes the week so much better. But all right, I'm going to get off my soapbox. We need to move into March Madness talk because it's been pretty fun. First question I'm going to ask, though, is because I feel like the women's tournament probably been a little bit more exciting than the men's. Would you agree with me, guys?
I agree, especially just with the games tonight. This was really probably the most anticipated day of women's basketball in probably history, with just the two great Elite Eight games, Iowa versus LSU, UConn versus USC, and both of them absolutely delivered. I mean, the LSU game, Caitlin Clark dropped 41 points, hit 9 3-pointers, just an absolute insane performance. And then in the UConn USC game, another game that really went down to the wire, Paige Becker's 28 points really came up big when the game mattered most. And yeah, it was just really two games that I think were better than a lot of the men's games, probably all of them. So
what about you, Marissa?
Yeah, I agree. I've definitely been watching more women's than men's probably. And like Anthony said, tonight's games were really exciting between Iowa and LSU and UConn and USC. There's just a lot of storylines there, of course, between, Caitlin and Angel Reese and them beating the defending champions. Then also with UConn and all their like injuries throughout the season and being able to outlast USC. That was really cool to see. And I don't know, the Huskies have just like a phenomenal, I guess, record or history or whatever you want to call it of Final Four appearances. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see them come back a year after I think they had like a 14 consecutive Final Four appearance streak or something that was snapped last year, and now they're returning.
They're back,
so
yep.
yeah, I would say the women's is super exciting right now.
Yeah, I mean, the men's is like the last exciting game, unless you consider the Alabama North Carolina game exciting, which kind of was probably the Texas A&M and Houston game, and that was a second round game. Like honestly, what's been a super exciting game after that? I mean, the only one I can think of is the North Carolina Alabama one. Like
Alabama Clemson was kind of close, but I would say North Carolina and Alabama was.
I mean, that was exciting. Probably, yeah. So it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just been a lot of like, if you're watching, you just kind of know what's going. Like, I'm not gonna say you know what's gonna happen, but like, there's 5 minutes left. It's like, okay, you kind of know who's gonna win. Like, that hasn't been a game. It's like up until the very end. I mean, Creighton Oregon, that was another good game, but then they won by 10, so that kind of like ruined it. But I don't know, man. It's like, especially in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, there just hasn't been that too many. Like, this last weekend was kind of dull for men's basketball, in my opinion. Like, I get NC State, great story. Love watching that team. Duke was playing amazing. UConn just running through everybody. Best basketball team in the nation. Houston lost. Like, Purdue finally starting to have success in March. Like, there's been there's just some exciting storylines, but I'm saying like the games themselves have just not been as exciting in years past, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I also have a question for you, Ben.
Oh, shoot.
I mean, now that they're in the Final Four, are you sold on Purdue? You had them losing in the second round to Utah State.
I did. Only
kept on downing them.
Only because Purdue has just screwed my bracket so many times. And then the year I finally am like, no, screw that. I'm not gonna have them go any farther. Then they make the Final Four. So it's like whatever I say, it's just gonna be the opposite. So I'm just gonna say Purdue's gonna win, and then they're losing to NC State, and it's gonna be fine. It'll be whatever. I don't know. Purdue, they've been awesome. Purdue's been great. Been a lot of controversy though with some of the foul calls in their favor. I don't know if you want to jump into that, but how many more free throws they've been shooting than their opponents? It's kind of crazy, kind of nuts.
Zach Edey, he's just a dominant player. Like, I get it. Tennessee has every right to be upset with Zach Edey shooting 22 free throws in a game.
I agree.
But at the same way, he just had a great performance, career high 40 points. And again, he just he dominates down low, and that leads to fouls. That leads to him being sent to the free throw line. I think that while, yes, it might get a little boring watching Zach Edey play, you got to just kind of respect his dominance, especially just with the season he's had, with the career he's had, playing his best basketball when it matters most, and is doing something that nobody has really ever been able to do for Purdue, and that's lead them to a Final Four. So,
But you want to know what's funny to me? Where's this draft stock at, though?
dude, I saw a mock draft having him in the first round, but like I doubt he goes that.
He's
He'd be a
projected
second
to be
rounder
like
if
an
lucky.
early second
Yeah.
at best, late first maybe. It's funny because like everyone sees through his game. Everyone knows like he wouldn't be that great in the NBA. I mean, not to degrade anything he's doing in college. I just think that's funny. That like he's now, but like no NBA team really sees him as a guy that can perform for them at a high level. Just because he's too slow, in my opinion. With how athletic and fast the NBA is, could you really see Edie? Like, I mean, I would feel like it'd be kind of a similar thing to like Taco Fall. I know Edie's a better player than Taco Fall, but like same thing with like just being a little bit too slow. Like all these playmaking guards that are the best of the best in the world are just gonna run laps around him.
Yeah, I kind of just see like a similar comparison to Luka Garza from Iowa years back. He was the National Player of the Year.
He's playing.
And, yeah, he scores 3.6 points a game for the Timberwolves. Granted, one of the best teams in the league, but still. And I think his game really worked better than Edie's. I mean, so at least Garza, he was 6'10", so shorter than Edie, but he had some 3-pointer. He had some other moves, but still he was picked 52nd overall, late second round in the NBA draft coming out of his senior year. So it's very interesting to see, just these National Player of the Years. It's really been a trend. I guess can't say as of late with other players winning previous years.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham, stuff like that. So not exactly a trend, but it has just been a thing where, National Player of the Years, while they might be dominant on the college stage, their game just doesn't translate to today's NBA.
I agree. I just find it funny that it's kind of been, it like you said, it's been a little bit of a trend. Not something that happens every year, but, Garza is a good example. I kind of forgot about him. But let's move into the women's because do you have something you want to say?
Well, I was just going to say, before I move into women's, you were mentioning free throws. What do you guys think of the court being mismeasured, the 3-point line?
Oh, yeah, for the women's Elite Eight yesterday between Texas and NC State, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it women's?
Yeah,
it
was women's.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was both or if it was just women's.
I don't know how you allow that to happen. Like, it's just wild. The game had already started, I think, at that point, and then they stopped it to like measure it and stuff like that. And then I saw the game tonight. They like painted over it, and like it was just like the like brown of the court outside the 3-point line was just painted over. They didn't even move the lineup. Or like they couldn't even paint the lineup. They just had the outside of the 3-point line kind of extended inside. Just very interesting. And something that, like, again, it's just how do you let that happen at this point? This big of a game, a team's Final Four hopes are on the line and they'll be shooting on a slightly deeper 3-point line. So very, very confusing.
Yeah, definitely weird that can happen. But we're kind of running out of time in the segment. So I want to get into the LSU Iowa game because that was a classic. Caitlin Clark, she dropped 41. I'm not reading that wrong, right? 41. 41. And Angela Reese had a good, Iowa took an early lead, and then LSU kind of came back. It was a pretty close game. So like both stars on both teams had pretty good games. Again, storylines. National championship rematch from last year, and we saw all the controversies with that. Angela Reese, a lot of people saying she was taunting Caitlin Clark. Both of them respect each other. Neither one of them said they're mad at each other about it. But, that's kind of was the narrative heading into the game. And Caitlin Clark gets the final laugh in it. Can you, I want to know, who is your national championship pick right now for women's basketball?
Right now, I got to go with South Carolina still. They're undefeated on the year, #1 overall seed. But if Caitlin Clark is able to beat UConn in the Final Four, face South Carolina in the championship, that would be just a phenomenal game. The national championship, that's really been the one thing that Caitlin Clark hasn't gotten her entire college career. She's broken every record, gotten every award. She just hasn't gotten that national title. He was so close to it last year. That would be just an amazing story. And yeah, if that's going to be the championship game, I could see Iowa pulling that out.
Yeah, UConn and Iowa, that's going to be a good game with Beckers and Caitlin going at it. And yeah, I think definitely UConn's going to put up a fight. But if they do, but if Iowa does beat them, I think Iowa does have a good chance against South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina has been extremely dominant and definitely be a war between them two. But I don't know. I mean, Caitlin, she's obviously been dominant all season and she's not slowing down, and she put down 41 points today. So, who knows how much she could put down with the national championship on the line.
I just think it's like the basketball gods won't allow Caitlin Clark to not win this national championship. It's like the only thing in college basketball she hasn't done yet. She's done everything else. She's broken like every record she can break pretty much. Won all the awards for Big Ten, won all these NCAA tournament games, scoring all these points, but she doesn't have that title, hasn't won that championship. And I just feel like it's just written that she's going to win this national championship. I'm going to side.
It's in the script.
It's in the script. It's in the script. Yes. Like, they're not, like, the gods just aren't going to allow Caitlin Clark to lose this game. And I'm just going to go on the back of that because I just think she's the best player in the college basketball, and she's going to be one of the best players when she gets to the WNBA. Like, that's how good Caitlin Clark is. Like, I get South Carolina's also really good, probably a deeper team, but I just think Caitlin Clark is too good. But with that, we're going to throw it to break. And when we come back, we're going to wrap up with baseball talk because baseball is ranked.
Finally.
Husker baseball is ranked, and Big Ten plays just kind of started. So they had a really good start. They're on a 10-game winning streak right now. We're going to touch on that more right here on the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
I'd like to have my fun maybe more like on like a Tuesday, like in February or something. Let's see if I can pull a prank on somebody. But not on
It's
prank
like it's
day.
total amateur hour.
Yeah, it's just like National Prank Day. Yeah.
Yeah, I do got a little announcement to make.
What's that? Oh, wait, breaking news?
I won't be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday.
Whoa! What? Can you, this
April Fools.
Oh! He got it. That's actually well done. It's so good.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
The Omaha Supernovas are back in action this Tuesday, April 2nd, versus the San Diego Mojo at the Viejas Arena in San Diego. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 8 p.m. with first serve at 9. Make sure to tune in to the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Supernovas Radio Network. What a day. I could sure use an afternoon pick-me-up. Hold up. The new 93.7 The Ticket location has a milk, coffee, and tea inside? Oh, yeah. This is a game changer.
Need an afternoon pick-me-up? How about a coffee or smoothie on your way to work? Stop by the Ticket Mill location on 1040 O Street to get your go-to drink or try out our new game day drinks exclusive to the Ticket Mill location. We know it'll make your day a million times better.
Happy hour.
How's life treating you, man?
Here's why the people don't really respond to your questions. Are we in the circle of truth? You really want to know why? Because the feeling when you ask those questions is not very genuine. You really don't care about our feelings. You only care about Nick.
You make me sound so bad.
It is. You really only care about Nick.
I do care.
No, you do not.
If I didn't care, I wouldn't ask you. You only ask that question because it seems nice.
And you want to look good on the street.
That's not it at all. It makes you sound like a nice person. You don't care. You don't care how much it was.
It's cool.
Weekdays from 1 to 2 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome back into the Daily Nebraskan Show right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. We're only going to be here for about 5 more minutes, but we're going to wrap up the show with some baseball and softball talk. First, want to get into baseball because baseball team is ranked. They are 20-5, 3-0 in conference play, and are on a 10-game winning streak. I mean, like, their start to the season is way better than years past.
This is the first time that Nebraska is ranked since the end of the 2021 baseball season. So it's been a long time coming. And yeah, they're really playing great baseball right now. Just looking at this past weekend series on the road against Northwestern, swept them, won their first 2 games by 3 and 4 runs. So pretty decisive victories. Then on Sunday, they were able to win in 10 innings, 8-7. We're down in the 9th inning, came back, tied it up, and were able to pull it off in extra innings, which really shows a lot about where this team is at. As in years past, like last year, Nebraska would have still probably won Friday and Saturday, but then they would have probably lost Sunday. That's when really their pitching took a big fall off. But, you know, this year with them having just a comeback win like this and the 10-game win streak really, really shows how much potential this team has. And it has another great matchup tomorrow against a Creighton team that is also pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that like softball was the team that was getting all the buzz because of Jordy Ball for good reason, but it's like the baseball team was quietly like there wasn't that much talk about the baseball team, but they're really good this year. Like, I'm not going to say they're like national championship contenders or anything right now, but they're one of the top teams in the Big Ten. Like, there's there's no denying that. Like, do you feel like Nebraska has a chance to win the Big Ten?
I do. I think that, you know, especially just how dominant they've been in non-conference play, that really suits them up well for a regional bid, which is not a given in the Big Ten unless you win the championship, which I think that this Nebraska team really, it checks all the boxes. It has great hitters. It has great pitching. Brett Sears has been phenomenal this year, 5-0, 1.36 ERA. This was a guy last year who really struggled in the bullpen and barely had any appearances because of it. So it's just a complete 180 from him. And it really just goes with the rest of the pitching. And then, you know, you have guys like Tyler Stone, Rhett Stokes, 2 guys you brought in as transfers this offseason, a lot of other transfers on this team too. Josh Overbeek, Riley Silva, just to name a few, really just shows how much they really attacked the portal hitter wise and how much they really developed their pitchers.
Do you feel like pitching is Nebraska's strong point right now? Would you say that's their strength?
I think so, honestly. I think that they're going to stay, especially in these games where it's Sears starting or Drew Christo, Will Walsh, those really big 3 of pitchers for them. Also, Mason McConaughey has also been really good for them so far. But yeah, I feel like in years past, Nebraska would really live and die by the long ball. They really, if they didn't hit the ball, they weren't going to win the games. But now this season, their pitching is really just, they just need to be able to get a couple runs across the plate on offense, as their pitching is going to do a great job shutting down the other side for at least 7 innings until the bullpen gets in. Then it might get a little iffy, but
yeah,
for the first 7 innings, Nebraska should be good.
That could be a little bit troublesome when they get into some closer games, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Probably get better as the season goes on. Real quick before we have to wrap up, softball 21-13. They are on a 5-game winning streak, 5-0 in conference play so far. They beat Illinois 2 times. The 3rd game was canceled, but then they beat Wisconsin all 3 games. I believe it was Wisconsin. Yes, it was Wisconsin. And all the games were won pretty mightily, pretty handily. 2 of the games were decided by 1 run, but everything else, 4 runs or more. I mean, softball, pretty good start for Big Ten play. They kind of struggled in the non-con way more than the baseball team, but we'll have to see if, I still believe, even without Jordy Ball, this softball team can compete in the Big Ten. This is going to be still one of the best teams in the Big Ten. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, the slow start to non-conference play, but they've really picked it up as Big Ten play as of now. Really just took them a while to kind of just get back on the right foot after some tough losses, some tough injuries, but they've really picked it up as of late. And yeah, I could definitely see them making a run in the Big Ten.
Well, with that, we got to wrap things up here on the Day One Nebraskan Show. Thank you for listening. We'll be right back here tomorrow, same time, 11 to 12. Should be me and Joseph. And until then, we are out of here. Peace.
Whether you like fishing together or fishing to get away, for the thrill of reeling in a big one, or just going out to have a good time, on the banks of your local pond,